do live. We're so excited for a fall tour. It'll be the final installment of our current Here for the Booze tour.
The final, I think, 10 shows, something like that. But it's the final countdown. And we're very excited. But if you want a chance at ever seeing Here for the Booze one last time, this is it, folks, before we do our next big tour. So hopefully you can make it to the next few cities. If you want to, you can check out our tickets at andthat'swhywedrink.com/live.
We can't wait to see you there. Some shows are already sold out, so get on it quick. Bye.
Hi, happy Halloween. Also, I have a surprise for you. I made it myself.
What?
Oh, wait. Why isn't it working?
You made it yourself.
I
is it a
made
bunch of emojis of what is this?
Well, also the Captain America shield's apparently showing up every now and then because it's a Zoom background. But
I love it.
The rest of it are all random stock photos of creepy things because it is creepy day. Happy Halloween.
Okay, well, I made something for you too. Hold on a second.
Oh, gosh.
I didn't make it. It actually has the person's signature on it. So I want to be clear. This is my
I love it. Also,
your Mothman background, Mothman.
Your little when you sit in front of it, it's like your brain has wings.
I know. I'm Mothman. If only I had red eyes. But yeah, this person, whoever drew it, signed it in the bottom. So they get full credit. I'm not like a deviant art expert. You know what I mean?
Purchased these stock photos so I could use them.
You did not.
I did. So the credit is all me, folks.
Wow.
They were like $1 each, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Good for you. You got aliens in there. I love them.
I tried to get a little of every bit of razzle dazzle I could. I think the only thing I'm missing is a cryptid, and you just handled that.
And I'm on it, okay?
It's at the end of the day, our brains are still somewhat always in sync, I think.
In sync. Aww.
Well, happy Halloween, Christine. Are you eating any yummy candy? Do you have a favorite candy you're hoping to get a whole bucket of?
You know, I love a Kit Kat, and that's probably I love a Reese's and a Kit Kat.
A peanut M&M?
I love a peanut M&M, but you know that already. Yeah, I love a Twiz. I love all of it.
I have always thought about getting you like a Princess Diaries pizza, but with peanut M&Ms on it. But then I was like, you know what? That's a really gross combo. But the thought is there. So
that's honestly, and with the background of that movie being one of my favorite movies ever, I think it would really touch my heart.
I just think of you as Anne Hathaway, and I just so badly want to be a rocker. So together.
Look how he looks like he's standing on my shoulder.
It's like he's your little pirate parrot.
Hello, he's my little familiar, my little red-eyed familiar.
What sound do you think he'd make?
Oh, did you hear that? Juniper is meowing.
He's doing the voiceover for Mothman. Hang on.
Why is he screaming?
He's saying Happy Halloween.
He's actually just mad that he can't get out the window on the 3rd floor of my house.
Oh, well, he'll get over it.
He thinks I need to let him out.
Roof. Do you have? Oh, and to answer your question, I love a good Twix. That's really all I need.
Love a good Twix. Also,
a Milky Way. Any caramel.
Left to right Twix. Remember those
left.
Hilarious commercials.
Left. I saw something on TikTok where there actually was shockingly a difference, where one had more caramel versus one had more wafer, but that could have just been like a TikTok,
Which one's the one with more caramel? Left or right?
I think the right one, and the left one's more cookie.
I want the more cookie one.
Me too.
Yeah.
So even if it's not true, someone should pay that TikToker for like making me now want to actively go find all the left Twix. So
that's funny.
Well, do you have any Halloween reasons why you drink at all?
Well, I'm dressing Leona as a tomato.
I know. I'm so excited.
Did we talk about that on the podcast or just on the after chat?
I think maybe just the after chat.
Oh, well, Leona's getting dressed up as a tomato because it's her favorite food. And I bought a little red sweatsuit, and I bought some felt from Michael's, and I'm going to cut her a little collar of green. So she's going to be my little tomato. I'm going to be a witch. Are you going to dress up? Oh, you're dressing up for a show, right?
I'm dressing up for the show.
Which is today as this episode comes out.
Well, hey, Atlanta. Hopefully you like my costume later today. Wink, wink, nudge,
I'm already
nudge.
nervous.
That's also assuming that everything came in on time, so it might be a really weird half costume. So we'll see how it goes.
You're gonna have to bring a costume because you've promised a costume.
I will bring a costume,
Okay,
but
great.
I really hope it's the one that I want it to be. Otherwise, it's gonna be a really random everyone's going to be like, why the hype up? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll just borrow Leona's tomato costume and
Honestly,
be like,
that could be cute.
Yeah, I think so.
Not gonna lie.
I'm excited for you to be a witch. Are you going to be a witch at our show?
I guess so, because it's easy. We sell those hats now on the website, and I got one for myself. Maybe and I always wear black, so it's like, just, lean into it a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds
Witchy
good to
vibes.
me.
I was Lemon one year when we did our Halloween live stream. Remember when we did a Halloween live stream for Patreon and then we got kicked off because we were playing Ghost Adventures in the background? I was doing like a voiceover or like a narration. You and I were commentating on an episode of Ghost Adventures.
we were trying to do like a live watching, watch Ghost Adventures with us.
And then all of a sudden YouTube was like, you have been suspended from streaming because of copyright violations.
And which I love that someone somewhere had to log Zach Bagans' voice as like a violation.
Yeah, be like, this isn't supposed to be here, this voice.
Well, I have a story for you. Actually, here's the situation. This is why I drink, because I'm a little stressed. Because I did a thing where a while ago, like a few weeks ago, on Instagram, I posted, hey, like, what should this year's Halloween story be?
Oh, okay.
And I got some really interesting ones. I was shocked that a lot of them weren't like more Halloween themed. But I got kind of like the three-way tie seems to be a haunted hotel, a haunted ship, or a cryptid of sorts, like a spooky, a famous cryptid.
Okay.
And then I got a fourth runner-up option that said, make Christine pick on site.
No, who did this? Who did this to me? A lot
of people.
What is wrong with these people?
So to make it easy on you, but also slightly difficult on me because I didn't get to fully solidly prepare the way I usually would, but I decided to put all of those together, and I would like you to pick which of those three would you like today for Halloween.
So you did notes for all of them?
I found a set of notes I hadn't covered before, and then I already had one in my drafts, and then I did a set of notes. So it was a bit of a headache, but I wanted to give the people what they wanted, and the majority could not figure it out. But I should have done like a poll and been like, of the top three, what do you guys want? But I also like the idea of making you pick and it being a choose your own adventure for Halloween.
Oh my gosh. I am thrilled. What are my options now? Haunted ship, haunted hotel, or cryptid?
Or a cryptid. And the cryptid is like a famous one, not like not an underdog. It would be one that you definitely would be excited to hear about.
The famous underdog? The famous spooky cryptid?
Can you imagine if I just covered the show Underdog for like 5 seconds?
Oh, that'd be fun.
There was a haunted hotel, a haunted ship, and then a cryptid.
I mean, we got to do a haunted hotel.
Okay.
Because that is just like the spooky, like we're going to be traveling on Halloween or like right around Halloween. I don't know.
Okay. Well, then we'll do a haunted hotel.
Yay!
Let me pull that one up.
Also, we're going to New Orleans soon, and I love a New Orleans haunted hotel.
I know you love a haunted hotel.
I do.
I kind of assumed this was going to be the one you
I know.
select.
I feel kind of bad. I was like, should I have just like 180 and like pulled a like punch
really,
and like really plot twist? But no, I can't.
I will tell you the other one in the top 5 potentials. Everyone was saying I needed to bring back the Hercene shifter, and I was like, I don't think anyone realizes the mental damage I did to myself trying to create that.
It took you a lot. It took a lot out of you. Let's put it that way.
So just know, I think between my Hercene shifter story and your what was the one? Clement?
My God! What the fuck was its name?
Cletus.
Cletus. The name that you literally told me about days before, and then somehow your name fit perfectly into Cletus as an anagram.
It was so weird. So between the two of those, I think we've got it. We've done that. We're so
beautiful.
Thought this would work better. Here is a story that I thought I had covered. That's why I had the notes. I must have done it maybe for like a live show all the way back in like 2018 or 2019 or something.
Oh.
Because I'm like, why do I have these notes? It's not, maybe it's in our book. But anyway, here are some notes I found that we're all going to explore together at the same time. This is something you have heard me talk about before, the Hotel del Coronado.
Ooh, spooky.
And out of paranoia, I just want to double check that I've never covered this. I checked last night and it said no on our website, but I just am paranoid.
I've definitely heard of it, but I don't know why.
I think that's why I never covered it, because we talked about it so much that I think I was just like,
where is it?
I have to have covered it. Coronado. No, it's not there. All right, so we're in the clear, folks. All right. By the way, shout out to our episode guide list you can find on our website. Okay.
Yeah,
so here,
Em works very hard on that.
Thank you. Okay, so here's the Hotel Del.
Here,
what?
Eva, sorry, I knew Eva would have something to say. She said, we also posted about it on our haunted road trip bucket list on Instagram way back in the day.
That's got to be
it.
So
that might be also where we remember it from.
These might have also been like emergency notes at some point. I really am unsure of what happened. It's a Halloween mystery.
Ooh, if you had said that up front, we wouldn't have had to even choose.
That's true.
Halloween
That's
mystery
true.
all the way.
These just came from me from another alternate reality, I suppose, where I covered it already. Okay. Hotel Del. And the history is pretty seemingly brief. I really leaned into the ghosts on this one. So okay, the Hotel Del. It opened in 1888. We know it fondly. And it's a national landmark, one of the largest wooden buildings in the U.S.
Ooh la la.
Fun fact.
Uh-huh.
It became known as the Talk of the Western World. It was later nicknamed the Lady by the Sea.
Oh my. Where is this place?
This is in San Diego, California.
Oh.
It's in Southern California. I think San Diego.
Okay.
Hang on, I should know that.
I'm sorry.
Why is that not even written down?
I don't know. You'd think if I'm gonna make you stay there one day.
It's in San Diego.
Okay, good.
Okay. So the hotel has a slogan, and I got to tell you, it's just about the dandiest slogan I ever did see.
Okay.
I would like you to come up with a slogan eventually for me that sounds as enthralling, because I feel like
I'm with Cletus, so I'll work on it.
Cletus, that would be like a Xenon situation, like Cletus Lapidus, you know?
Cletus.
Okay, well, let's move on quickly. Okay, so the hotel slogan, which whoever wrote it, you deserve a big hug and a trophy and money. Free from malaria, hay fever, mad dogs, cold snaps, or cyclones. I like that it's not and cyclones.
Wait,
like
that's it?
Oh, that's
the
it.
slogan? Oh my God.
It's just free from those 5 things, but apparently only one at a time. So
I also love that, like, that's what makes it stand apart, whereas other hotels are known for their mad dogs and cyclones. This one is like,
you could get your hay fever somewhere else.
Yeah, you can and you will, but if you come here.
So this place was not only known for its apparently amazing slogan, but it was also very swanky. It had over 750 rooms, and it had an 11,000 square foot ballroom. Like
11,000. I thought you said football.
Oh,
you said square foot ballroom, and I said football room. I'm
honestly
slow.
That would, to some people, that would be very swanky. So, so it also had 34 billiard rooms, billiard tables. Oh my God. Not
I was
pool.
like, well, okay, somebody has a problem.
It had 34 billiard tables, bowling alleys, and it had a dining room that could seat 1,000 people. Whoa. It had tennis courts. It had a Japanese tea garden. It had an Olympic-sized saltwater pool.
Yeah.
And to top it all off, for a sprinkle of razzle-dazzle, it had an ostrich farm.
Whoa, I didn't see that coming.
And you're not going to see this coming either. Thomas Edison oversaw the light installations.
No way.
Like, what?
What do you mean? Crazy. Like, he just like told them how the lights worked while they put them in?
you just screw it in, actually.
Yeah, here's the filament, I think is what it's called.
They had, I wanted to say, last week I talked about the schoolroom, the schoolhouse I went to. And they actually had like, a lot of the schoolhouses will have this, and it's usually the exact same piece of paper. So if you I don't have to buy it a million times, but they usually have like a wall of like charts that look like they're from the 1870s, and you can buy them for yourself, so you feel like you're looking at the real class schedule and like rules from the teacher and like things like that. The schoolhouse I just went to had a new piece of paper I hadn't seen before, where it was the it looked like the old flyer to warn the teachers about how the lamps worked because Edison bulbs had just been installed.
No.
I was like, now that's fun.
That's pretty damn cool. The teachers are like, really? We got to learn a whole nother thing now? Damn it.
Oh my God, Christine, I have to tell you, by the way.
What?
Oh my God. Speaking of like having to learn a whole new technology, I just stayed, as you know, because I was late to recording today. Sorry. I just stayed at this hotel last night. And my friend, she's a flight attendant. Whenever she comes in town, we always have a sleepover. And so I get to like stay at different hotels in my own town, which is super fun. But there's this one hotel. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to insult them, but please also never make me stay there, because the technology, I felt like I was 90,000 years old. I couldn't figure out how anything worked. The elevators, it was a digital elevator. Do you know what that means?
No.
It honestly rocked my world in like such a confusing way. It was okay. So first of all, they had 2 elevators. They were one of those buildings where they had 3 elevators. They had that you had to take all of them in the right sequence. What? So I know, I don't understand. They had an elevator just for parking. So once you parked your car, you had to take an elevator just to get to the lobby. Then get to the lobby, once you're in the lobby, you have to take elevator number 2, which only takes you up to a certain amount of floors. Like floor 1 isn't the lobby. You have to go to the first floor to go to a lobby that's like 10 more floors up.
Okay.
Then from there, you have to take another elevator to get to your rooms.
Okay.
But each of these elevators, I'm not kidding, don't have buttons.
Huh?
Don't have buttons. So like the parking one had a button, but then the other 2 elevators, you had to rely on your room key, which like, how do you even how do you take the initial elevator to the lobby without a room key? I don't understand it. Thank God I was with someone else the whole time. But you have to use your room key to basically where the buttons would be for you to call an elevator. Usually there was just a screen and you put your room key to it. And then there would be, you would have to type in your floor, and then it would show you different numbers to let you know what elevator to walk to get to the elevator that was now pre-programmed to take you to your floor specifically. Oh my God, it was such a nightmare. So anyway, let's just say I can relate to the people who had to use these Edison bulbs for the first time.
1800s school teachers.
I was like, this is like, who thought of this? This is not user friendly at all.
No, it doesn't sound like it. I'll be honest with you.
I only figured it out on my way out to drive away and never come back.
Imagine like getting stuck in one of those elevators and there's just no buttons and you're like, well, I can't even call
That's what it
department.
said. There was only one button and it was the phone in case there was a crisis.
Oh, no.
I was like, this is beyond, this is such a nightmare. And then they had to know it was a problem because there were like attendants at each of the hallways that had different elevators that were programmed to take you to only certain sets of rooms.
Oh my God.
And so they had attendants to be like, this is the hallway to the elevators that take you to these rooms. Like they had to manually
pay
tell you.
other people to stand there and tell you how to use the non-attendant elevator. This is, that's like, when you know, like maybe you've stretched it a little too much.
It's like, why don't you just pay for buttons and then nobody has to do that?
I just stayed in a hotel in Chicago that had a TV in the mirror, in the bathroom mirror.
That's funky.
But it was like,
you couldn't even really see it.
No, you couldn't. And it was so grainy. And it was about like, it was like this big. It was tiny. And there was a remote on the, and I also stayed in a recent hotel in where were we? I forget, somewhere. And the freaking toilet had a remote. I was like, whoa, like a full-sized remote.
That's got to be the dirtiest remote I've ever seen in my life.
I know. I was like, yikes. And it had all the different bidets and heated. And I sat on it in the middle of the night and it was like warm. And I was like, okay, this is tripping me out. All these different buttons. But the TV in the mirror was like, somebody thought this was cool 10 years ago. And now it's like already outdated because it's so grainy. You can't even see it like from the shower or the toilet. So like,
or even when you're looking, like I've seen those mirror screens and like, unless it's like a super duper holy crap expensive one, like you still see your reflection the whole time.
Exactly. It's like I was
odd.
watching like PBS. I turned it on. It was like Antiques Roadshow, but my dumb face was like hovering over all the antiques.
You're the antique.
I am, honestly. That makeup mirror told me so. I looked at it and I went, oh, God, this is too clear of a mirror. Anyway, sorry. So, yes, high-tech hotels. We're already too old for this shit.
I never... I always thought, when I get older, I'll totally keep up with the times. I won't be like everyone else.
We'll never be like my parents. I'm never going to ask what the cloud is.
Right. That elevator really humbled me. So anyway, that's how I feel today. Okay. So Thomas Edison oversaw the light installations, which, yes, for all I know, means he just like watched people.
He gave like a lesson in filaments.
Okay, so those are some of the fun facts. Another fun fact about the Hotel Del is in 1904, the hotel had the first in the entire country outdoor electrically lit Christmas tree.
That is a fun fact.
I think that's so fun.
I love that.
And then here are just some of the guests. This might be outdated because, again, these notes, if I were to like look at the information on it, it might be a few years old. But at the time that I wrote these notes, the guests of people who have come here were Presidents Harrison, McKinley, Taft, Wilson, Roosevelt, Bush, Obama, and several celebrities, including a personal fave, Orville Redenbacher.
Oh, my goodness.
And he actually lived here for 20 years until he died.
He lived there?
He lived there for 20 years.
Okay.
Yep. Actually, you know what? If I were a betting kind of fella, I would say I think this is a chapter in our book because I remember talking about Orville Redenbacher in our book.
I like how that springs the memory. Nothing else. None of the Thomas Edison. None of the
just
crazy
the popcorn
facts
king.
about.
Hang on.
Yeah, just the popcorn king. He did it. He did it.
I'm getting my book to see.
I gotta have my book somewhere. Oh, it's under all these other books. I don't want to pull it out.
By the way, that's something they don't tell you. Like once you write a book, you don't always remember everything you put in there.
No.
Oh wait,
see. It is in there.
Is it?
Yeah, almost
185
positive.
if you'd like to read along, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I already see his name, Orville Redenbacher. Okay, so there we go.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I also see Ostrich Farm. So, I definitely did do these notes for the book.
You knew what you were talking about, for sure.
Okay, well, that'll do it.
That'll do it.
Also in the book, by the way, I wrote, to be honest, hang on. Many notable people have stayed here, including Orville Redenbacher, who lived here for 20 years until his death. And then I said, in parentheses, to be determined if his ghost has popped by. So,
Lord, ouch, that hurt me.
Just a taste of what you can get.
Painful. Yeah, we're trying to sell this book, not, Just kidding. Very good. Very good,
Bakey, thank you, snaps for me.
Snaps for you.
Okay, so yeah, he lived in this. I would like more information on why he lived there for 20 years. Like, what was the situation? He couldn't afford his own home, or because this was so elaborate?
Are expensive to live in. I feel
because
he was pricey.
He was probably just like super rich at the time.
He
was
get
like
taken care of, You got people doing your cleaning and all that. You got 34 billiard rooms.
He's got Thomas Edison original first edition light bulbs. So this is also where King Edward VIII met his wife, who he later gave up the throne for. Fun fact. And this is where Stephen King was inspired to write 1408.
Oh my God.
Fun, everybody.
This is a cool place.
So in 1958, this is where they filmed Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe.
Whoa.
And a fun fact about her behind the scenes is that Marilyn Monroe ate a chilled vanilla souffle with meringue on top every day. But no popcorn. Can you imagine how insulted Orville was?
Oh, he was pissed.
He's like, I'm right upstairs.
I could have just smell it from down there.
I could have just craft services never contacted me. That's so fucked up.
Really embarrassing, honestly.
Also, the room rates. I want you to guess at the time. This was in the early 1900s. Oh no, opened in 1888. In 1888, what do you think the room rates were per day?
$6.
Close. It was $2 to $2.50 per day.
Okay, so not close. So a third.
Mean, to us, close.
Okay, yeah, close in today's money, maybe.
Yeah.
$2?
$2 to $2.50. So no wonder Orville was hanging out there for $2 a day. He's like, this is great. Also, the resort once had a separate dining room and an entrance, both of them for single women.
Oh no, that's so fucking rude.
It's like if you're married, welcome all, but if you're single, there's the door.
Oh boy.
Yeah, spinsters were not welcome.
No.
And then there's the story of Kate Morgan, and I think this is why I keep thinking I had covered the story before, because she is one of the most notable ghosts here, and I feel like every hotel has a ghost named Kate, and I don't understand what's going on.
It's true.
I think we hit the double whammy a couple episodes ago when there was a woman named Kate who was the woman in red the whole Lost at Sea thing. So
yes, triple whammy.
Trifecta.
Triple fecta. That's what they call it.
Okay, so Kate is the most notable ghost, and her story is that she was born in Iowa in 1864, and she was sent to live with her grandfather. And as an adult, she married a man named Thomas Edwin Morgan, but they were not happy. And a few years into their relationship, Kate left her husband and ran off with a man named Albert Allen, who was Thomas's stepbrother. Escandalo. No. Oh, my God.
Escandalo. Indeedy.
And it's suggested that their relationship was also an unhappy one. Keeping it in the family, it probably didn't start hot. Didn't
venture far enough from the family.
So Thanksgiving 1892, Kate checks into Hotel Del under the name, not Kate Morgan, but Mrs. Lottie A. Bernard from Detroit.
How much fun do you think she had coming up with that fake little name?
I know, Mrs. Lottie A. I like how she was like, we're going to get creative enough to throw an initial in there, but I don't know what it stands for.
But she's like, but if somebody asks, I'm going to have to come up with it on the spot. It's a little exciting game for me,
Even I don't know what's to come.
Even I don't know.
So, fun fact, she entered the hotel through the single ladies entrance. And she mostly kept to herself, and she was in frequent contact with the housekeeper who often visited her room. And this is where the story gets kind of complicated because she's by herself. She's really only talking to the housekeeper. She's going by this other name. And this is version 1, she said that she was diagnosed with some sort of stomach, like a cancer or something, a terminal illness and it was at this hotel where she was going to meet her brother, who's a doctor, and he was going to kind of update her on her prognosis.
Okay.
So that's story 1.
But she made that up.
We think so.
Okay.
The other story that she made up that people say she made up, is that she got separated from her boyfriend on the train, and this was just their meetup location, and she was waiting for him to find her at the hotel.
Okay. Sure.
Which I love that maybe this was more common back in the day. I do remember this being a more common thing, but it just kind of hits me to realize like, oh yeah, people had to discuss meeting up spots in case they got lost.
Oh yeah.
And so I like how they picked like, let's go to that really bougie hotel.
Hell yeah.
Crazy.
That way when I show up and I don't know when you're coming, I don't really care because I can just spend weeks here.
Right. There's so much to do.
So many billiard rooms to explore.
So many light bulbs to see turn on by themselves. And so that's either one of those stories where she was waiting for her brother who's a doctor, or she was waiting for her boyfriend who she got separated from.
Okay.
And the hotel staff testified later that they remember her looking like she was in pain, but actually refused a doctor. Huh. So I guess she could come up with the story of like, oh no, my brother is the doctor I trust. Okay. But the next day, even though she looked like she was in pain one night, hotel staff said later the next day she was asking for wine. She asked for a jigger of whiskey. She asked for painkillers and malaria pills to all be brought to her room.
Well, you know how they feel about malaria at this place.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what a bunch of painkillers and alcohol will do if you mix them together.
Oh, yeah. I was just still thinking about the slogan of the hotel. I wasn't even thinking about the other part. Uh-oh.
No, your part is definitely more fun to talk about because I was wondering with the slogan, I was like, where does malaria come into play? But I guess they found a way to insert it into their story.
The anti-malaria pills you could ever want.
I know. Hay fever, got it. But the flu? No. You're on your own there.
No Theraflu here.
So they brought up a bunch of alcohol and painkillers, and a few days passed, and no guy, either a brother or boyfriend, ever showed up.
Oh.
And by November 28th, 3 days after Thanksgiving, Kate went out and she bought a handgun. She went out to the veranda and she died by suicide.
Oh, no.
And the hotel's assistant electrician found her the next day. But cops tried to find her family and they couldn't. So even though she said she had a brother, they don't know who it was.
Oh.
They found out that Lottie wasn't her name. I don't totally know how, but because they found out that Lottie was not her name, the press ended up nicknaming her the Beautiful Stranger.
Whoa.
And her employer in LA ended up seeing the picture in the paper of the Beautiful Stranger and was able to reach out and say, oh, I know who that is. The Beautiful Stranger is actually named Kate Morgan.
Oh, my goodness.
But so now we don't know if Kate Morgan or Lottie Bernard was the fake name. We don't know which one. I guess Kate Morgan was probably her name because her employer had it.
Her employer knew. Right.
But while she worked for the employer, she said that she was married to a gambler. And she left her job to travel with her husband. So others remember her saying brother. It gets very complicated and we just don't really know what her story was. She was clearly on the run. Or she was clearly trying to avoid people finding out who she was.
Yeah.
So theories suggest that her and this man that she was waiting on were con artists and they would travel around and either swindle people out of money, something like that. And then the guy just never came, or that the guy never existed and she thought someone was coming and they didn't. And so she died by suicide because of that. Or she could just been really depressed and just, we don't know the real story.
So why the alcohol and pills then?
I wonder if it was just like the last couple of days to just kind of maybe an escape, or maybe she,
because I thought that's how she was going to die.
I did too. I wonder if it was an attempt and it didn't work. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
So days before she actually arrived at the Hotel Del and this whole story starts, witnesses say that they did see her on a train with a man heading towards San Diego.
Okay.
But then those people said that they saw them get in a huge fight and parted ways, and that's when she must have showed up at the hotel. So we really don't know the situation at all, but allegedly there was a man involved and he never met up with her.
Oh, no.
So she is now buried in Mount Hope Cemetery as Lottie Anderson Bernard. I don't know where Anderson comes from.
A.
Yeah, but I don't know who picked it.
Somebody got to pick it. It's not fair. She didn't even get to pick her middle name.
Maybe that housekeeper she was friends with asked, what's the A stand for?
Maybe.
Yeah. So she's buried in Mount Hope Cemetery as Lottie Anderson Bernard, a.k.a. Kate Morgan.
Okay,
So,
I see.
And the coroner, by the way, to see if the original story of she had some sort of really bad stomach illness and her brother's a doctor, a coroner said that she was far too young for stomach cancer and there was no sign of it showed in his autopsy. So
intriguing.
That one is pretty debunked.
Another clue.
It's also theorized that her stomach might have been hurting because maybe she was pregnant and wasn't telling anybody, and maybe she, with the pills and alcohol, was trying to...
Okay.
And that might have been the topic that led to a fight on the train with this guy. Maybe she said, I'm pregnant and I don't want the baby, and then they part ways.
Or maybe he didn't want the baby, and so he left her. Who knows? Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, maybe he left her when he found out she was pregnant.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't totally know, but in the 1980s, the case was looked at again, and it could have actually been a homicide because of the position of the gun and the upward trajectory of the bullet, and the fact that the bullet didn't match her gun.
Oh.
So it could have looked like it was a cover-up, like someone just left another gun there or something.
Oh my God. Oh no.
It suggests that maybe whoever she was waiting for to show up actually did show up just to kill her and then leave. But since it was so long ago, the case has not been reopened again. So
wow.
And there is a store in the hotel called Kate's. It's on the lower level of the hotel.
They named a store after her?
Yeah.
That's cute.
I think that's cute. I'd love a store named after me. I hope she's
Seriously.
beaming about that. So the store is named after her in her honor. And the other two rooms that are most haunted in the hotel, other than Kate's room, are both where pregnant women died by suicide.
Oh, no.
So that in a paranormal way almost not confirms, but makes you think maybe if the other two had that happen and there was a story that makes it sound like that could have been her situation too, and all those three rooms are haunted, maybe that's what happened to her. There's another story of a little girl and her favorite doll that she brought everywhere with her, but she became extremely sick at the hotel and was taken to the doctor, and no one thought to grab the doll, and she died without it.
Stop.
And so now they think that she haunts the hotel looking for her doll.
Oh,
I know. I wanted to say that one like a Band-Aid.
Sad.
Rip it off.
Yeah.
So here are some of the other ghosts, or other hauntings, I suppose. So the most haunted rooms are booked over a year in advance for the most part. So if you wanted to be in Kate Morgan's space, good luck. Also, the cleaning staff, they like to work in pairs to avoid being alone anywhere. I'm sure there's some like, more macho staff people who are like, I can handle it. But I would definitely be someone who wanted to buddy system. Electronics will unplug themselves and your electronics will go missing. Footsteps run past your bed. Absolutely not.
Forget it.
There are very strong floral scents that will make you wake up in the middle of the night because the perfume is so overwhelming, or the smell.
Creepy.
People hear women and babies crying, which is super sad. Pictures of orbs have been found floating next to Kate's room. People have seen groups of women dressed in Victorian clothing walking around.
That's cool.
I think so too. And I always wonder if I'd be one of those people who the ghosts think, oh, M's stupid enough to think this is like a reenactment. Like, I want them to think I would think that, Like,
yeah.
I want them to think I could fall for it because I would.
Because we both would, probably.
We both would. I'd be like, that's oh man, a reenactment. I got to go find them. And then it'd be ghosts. People feel themselves being watched or being grabbed at. People have had their TV switching on and off by themselves. They've heard voices and whispers. There's a face that's known to appear in reflections, which is not yours during Antique Roadshow. And especially there's reflections of faces in the TVs when they're not being used. Now that I certainly can't get into.
That just gave me goose cam.
Especially like if you're just lying in bed and your TV's off, but you can see like
over.
You can see a reflection of someone else sitting in the room with you.
Ugh.
I certainly beg to differ.
Terrible.
Apparently your ears will ring until you can't hear anything. I don't know if that was someone with just like particularly bad tinnitus, but whatever. It hasn't happened to me, so I don't know. There's a quote from someone who says, I started to hear my name. It sounded muffled, and then it was like the entire hallway was echoing my name.
Ew.
I don't like it.
Ew.
People look into mirrors and see distorted versions of themselves.
Nah. That's out of a horror film.
And there have been cases where there's no reflection at all.
Oh. What? No.
That's a new one. Now that's a new one.
That is.
People sense deep sadness. They sense your throat closing up. They have dreams of a woman in a black dress standing over you. There are reports of a woman wearing black 1800s garb gliding down the corridors, which is just so perfectly haunted.
Ooh.
And the same woman is seen standing by the windows and trying to open locked doors. And so people think maybe that's Kate because she's like trying to get out on the roof or something. Oh. There's a guest that put her necklace in the closet safe, and when she opened the box, the necklace was literally tied up in several knots.
Oh, well, that's just rude.
That's so fucking mean.
Because that's the hardest thing when you're trying to untangle one of those chains.
Especially if it's in a safe, that means it was also expensive. Like,
yeah,
so now,
yeah.
It wasn't like a Dollar General necklace that you can just toss. Like, you have to figure it out.
You gotta untangle that shit now.
And what was the point? Like,
what is the point?
Like, what was that for? Was that just
you as a ghost being inconvenient for everybody? Like you want to be.
There's a difference. I promise you, I will be inconveniencing everyone as a ghost, but I will not be a grade A dick. Like that's a dick move.
It isn't, honestly. It's probably for the best because I tangle my necklaces all by myself. I don't need a ghost to do it. All my necklaces are tangled anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that's a wild one. I will have standards.
You have limits. Yeah.
Like there's some ways where it's funny, and then there's other times where it's absolutely not fucking funny.
Yeah. I do appreciate your understanding on that.
Thank you. I'm just telling you now because we both know I'm probably going to go before you. So like,
love that I'm going to try to blame you for the necklace thing, even though I just told you I do it to my own necklaces all the time. I'll be like, fucking M, and Eva's going to have to be like, M literally outright told you that that's not their fault. Okay.
I'm glad that you're seeing the situation. Because I am trying to preemptively let you know where my boundaries lie.
You know, I'm going to blame you for every fucking inconvenience of my life.
I will absolutely steal your keys just to go like, haha. But then like, if you actually need like to go to like get your like Remicade, I'm not going to steal your keys, you know?
It's
like
so
there's
nice
a difference.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But if I were, well, we could get into that forever, but just.
We'll do an after chat on it.
Okay. The light over the steps where Kate died will not stay lit, which is interesting. So it's like the electricity won't keep up. Maybe because they're still Edison's original 1800 bulbs. But
I was actually just thinking that.
There's flickering lights everywhere. Again, Edison bulbs. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh my God. Sorry. I
What?
thought I was imagining it, but then now I see it. A literal light bulb in my room just went out.
Bye. Absolutely not.
I will. Oh, well, let me turn my background off. Because as you said, they will not stay lit. The corner of my room went dark, and I thought that's odd. But I was like, maybe the clouds shifted, and now I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm like, no, the light bulb over there completely went out.
I hate it. Happy Halloween.
I know, for real. So here are my. Oh, there's one light bulb.
Ugh.
But now the one. I don't know how to turn this.
You need like an old teacher's like stick to point at the blackboard.
Can you see like my corner over there?
Yeah, it's gone.
The light
it's out.
above that is out. It just went dark. But it was right when you said the light won't stay lit where she died.
You know what I hate about that is that my like I'm in your headphones, so in theory, nothing in your room should be hearing me.
You're right.
It's listening all around.
I didn't even think of that.
It knows no space or time. It just is everywhere all at
once.
once.
Talk about boundaries. I mean, geez.
Yeah, truly. Get out of her headphones. What's wrong with
headphones?
you? And
So
as the next light goes,
I know this is one by one. All the light bulbs go out. That was pretty creepy, especially because like it's the only one right in like I can see happen right in front of me, and I was standing here going, "What went dark over there? Oh my God! Literally a light bulb went out."
Firm pass.
The timing was very odd. Okay.
I'm going to say I did that on purpose. That was actually my future ghost trying to play a prank on both of us.
Honestly, it was probably you in the past when you took a nap up here. You probably unscrewed the light bulb just to a point where one day it'll go out.
One time I took a nap in Christine's house while our manager was also staying with Christine. And the manager, I think, this is how little I think of Maggie during this story.
The manager.
Everyone else who has experienced and witnessed me taking a nap knows that it's one, not a pretty sight, and two, once I'm asleep, like I'm unconscious.
Yeah.
And I told you I was going to go take a nap, and I don't know if our manager knew that, because all of a sudden she came up and just started talking to me, and she was like, "Oh, we have to leave for something," and it wasn't her fault because we did have to leave for something, but I needed someone to be mad at, and I was so upset with her. I was like, I'm in the middle of the best nap of my life. On the best, like Christine has this one little nook in her house that I'm not kidding is the best nap I've ever. It's the best nap place I've ever had.
Well, it's underneath this fucking light bulb that just went out. So good luck.
But I remember thinking before I even got to your house, I was like, I'm going to fly across the country and I know exactly where I'm going to take my nap. It's going to be so good. And I never get to sleep in this spot because I'm never here. And then all of a sudden, within 20 minutes, she was like, "Oh, we have to go to something." And I was like, you have no idea what torment you have caused me.
She actually did, because she said, "Can you go wake Em?" And I said, "Absolutely not. I'm not participating in that." And I said, "You're the manager. You do it." And so she said, "Fine, I'll do it." And so that's how Maggie ended up being the one to come up here and get you.
Maggie, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but
I absolutely refused.
It wasn't your fault, but also I become such a child with my naps. Wow, where were we? Oh yeah, flickering lights.
The lights went out. Spooky.
So the lights will flicker, but also fixtures will swing on their own, aka chandeliers, which I just don't like. Do you have any chandeliers? Is it going to swing?
I do. I'm looking at it now, and it is stock still.
Okay, good.
Phew.
Future ghost me, if you'd like to fuck around and find out right now,
you could
swing that little chandelier around.
If you're listening in my ears like you were a minute ago.
I probably got bored. I took a nap. I heard us talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds really good."
Probably why you turned that fucking light off. You were like, "It's too bright in here."
Bedtime. Dark figures. Speaking of naps and going completely wrong, dark figures will pull sheets off of the bed.
Ooh.
So, beg to differ.
Yikes.
Guests, their speakerphone or their intercom will keep turning on and off in the middle of the night.
Mm-mm.
Gross.
That'd
and
be annoying as hell.
Try this one on for size. Alarm clocks will stay on all night.
That's so fucking annoying.
This is just like the house of
No
oddball
sleep.
activity. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a spirit of a girl that's said to run around in guest rooms. The rooms will get untidied, and the staff will think that the girl, or the rooms will untidy themselves, and the staff thinks that that's the girl who is going through people's stuff looking for her doll.
Wait, I would,
or just looking through their stuff.
Or looking through her stuff. I think that's
would be
why
me.
not? As a ghost.
A woman will follow you down the hall. She mirrors all of your actions, and then she will smile at you and disappear.
Ew, 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 ew.
Christine,
ew,
we've
ew.
talked about so many things on the show, and that
ew.
is one for the books.
That's one of the worst.
Like mirroring you. So like
that's like out of a Jordan Peele horror film,
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes. I wonder if it's like, so if you think you see something in the corner of your eye, but you move and she moves, it's like you think it's your shadow.
I had a dream last night that I was looking in the mirror and I moved my arm and the reflection moved a little too slow.
Ugh. No, thank you. No, thank you.
And so this is not playing well with my subconscious right now.
Oh, good. Hey, that's what I'm always aiming for.
I know, and you're doing a great job.
Another woman in old clothes will stare at you from the ballroom. A shadow will stare at you. Well, oh no, not at you. Will stare out of the window to the ocean/garden and then fades away.
Aww.
That one I'm cool with. Like completely not bothering me.
Yeah.
People will hear conversations right outside their door, but no one is there. Which I've had that happen to me in a hotel where I thought people were really fucking drunk and not going in their hotel room and we're just talking outside.
Ugh.
And then I've opened the door to be like, hey, can you keep it down? And it was completely empty.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, remember it was in New Orleans actually where I kept being like, why are you knocking on my door? Non-stop.
Right.
You kept or was that you who kept hearing knocking? One of us kept hearing knocking on the
No,
door.
you kept gaslighting me into thinking I was somehow next to your door knocking on
I
it.
thought you were fucking with me. Somebody kept knocking, and then every time I'd rip the door open, nobody was there, and I was like, "Em, are you just crawling under the door and banging on it?" And you were like,
I
legitimately
see
not.
why you think I would.
Right? Okay, I feel crazy, and I probably am, but it really did feel like something you would do.
I think because I thought I also knew it was something I might do. Every time you texted me are you knocking on my door? I'd be like, have I knocked on your door recently?
Remember the time when I did? Yeah, you were like, maybe? But you texted me, you were like, I'm on the toilet. And I was like, prove it. And then I was like, don't prove it. Actually, don't prove it.
I never need to prove it to you because every time I call you on the phone, I'm always on the toilet. And it's the first thing I tell you. I always say,
I should have known.
I say, Christine, I'm on the potty. I'm ready to talk about stuff.
I'm ready to chit chat with you.
It's always such a nice place to have a conversation. Okay, the last few things are that the doors and curtains will move on their own. People hear murmurs and coughing and hearty laughter. The screens have fallen off the windows. Again, that could be poor construction. Strange glowings and lights show up under the doorways of vacant rooms.
Ooh.
That one I have been able to debunk before with it being... if it's a window facing the street, somehow you can still get car lights from under the doors.
A headlight, right.
Mm-hmm. Objects have flown across the room and smashed into walls, especially in the gift shop.
Oh, that's not like a snow globe is what I'm picturing.
The things they're trying to sell for money. Yeah.
That's so sad.
That's the same person who's knotting up everyone's necklaces.
I guess so. Fucking around.
People have woken up to shadows standing beside their window. People have seen indentations on the bed, and the sheets will not stretch back as if something is still sitting on the bed.
Oh, it's like you tug on it, and it's no.
Now that I do not enjoy.
I don't either.
Apparitions have been seen walking around in the gift shop, probably right before they smash something against a wall. Windows and doors open and close. Guests have said that their bed shakes at night. One maid slipped a note under the door asking if an occupant wanted the room cleaned, and then a note was sent back under the door saying yes, but it was a vacant room. Truly get out of town.
The ghost was just waiting for somebody to scare. It was like, somebody come in here, please.
I like to think there was a ghost squatting by the door with a pen and paper ready to go at any moment.
Anytime.
Guests have seen the drapes blowing in the breeze, but the window is shut. Spirits of children are heard running around. Sometimes they will apparently run into you and you'll feel something hit you, but you think it's a kid and there's no one there. Ghosts have been seen overseeing the dining room where you think there's an employee there, but it's actually nobody's there. Guests will hear someone talking in the hotel room, but they go inside and nobody is there. And guests will hear people talking in the bathroom at night, but nobody is there.
Oh, no.
There's also gurgling sounds in the bathroom, shower curtains moving, toilets flushing, sinks going on and off, and guests will feel vertigo and icy cold spots.
Ugh, gurgling.
Some have even felt chest pains in a room where a man is said to have died from heart failure.
Oh, that's sad.
And then I'll end with a quote that says, at about 2 a.m., this is from a guest who had something happen. At about 2 a.m., I was awakened by exceedingly cold temperatures and the ceiling fan working at high speed. The fan remained on for about 30 seconds and then stopped. I awoke to find that all the bed pillows had been stacked pyramid style on top of my computer.
Ugh.
That's some poltergeist shit of like things stacking on places that they shouldn't be.
Oh, creepy, creepy, creepy.
Imagine that New Orleans hotel if like we woke up and all the pillows were just like stacked in a pyramid on top of your computer.
On top of my iPad, which was playing mysterious music in that same hotel room.
Now that was freaky.
That was freaky.
And freaky.
Em was on the potty.
I was on the potty.
And I started screaming, and you were like, what? And I was like, I can't blame you for this one because you were on the potty. But I swear to God, I wasn't touching my iPad.
I remember you telling me, hey, something paranormal just happened. And my pants were down and I was mid-potty experience.
Like the ghost knew so perfectly what to do.
I was like, I can't even run away if I wanted to right now.
No.
Like this, I got nothing. I just have to sit here and
pants down.
I just have to wonder if all of a sudden the ghost is going to think it's so funny to fling the door open and they just see me on the potty.
So fucking rude because we were separate. We were in the same room, but we were like, just the 5-minute break where we were in separate spaces. Something spooky happened, so I couldn't like prove to you I wasn't touching it. But I remember I was screaming, "Did you turn on music?" And you were like, "No."
How would I do that with your iPad that's over there?
Oh, yikes.
Anyway, can't wait to go back to New Orleans. When this comes out, we'll be in New Orleans tomorrow or in a few days.
In a few days. Very spooky timing.
Oy, oy, oy. Well.
Oh, and that was a good
that's the Hotel del Coronado.
And that was so good and so spooky. It really was.
Thank you. And now I've got notes for the next 2 episodes.
I can't believe it. You're
they're
so
the ones
prepared.
Who didn't pick. I know it.
Wow, that was a good one, Em. Honestly, a lot of stuff happens there that I hadn't even heard of before, like the person mimicking your movements and all that.
That is absolutely, that's an immediate...
That's a new one to me.
Red flag, like full-blown hotel red flag.
Yeah, gigantic flag. I have actually a cold case for you today.
Oh, see, I'm always so excited to hear them, but then I also get so mad because what you're telling me right off the bat is good fucking luck finding out.
Maybe you'll solve it. I say that every time.
I know. I always think like I'm the detective ready for the case.
Finally, the right person has come along, and it's M. Schultz.
They've been waiting all this time just for this moment.
Oh, well, you never know. Maybe you'll have some sort of insight. We'll see.
Maybe.
This is the Jane Marie Prichard cold case. And I watched, there are a bunch of sources, but one of the YouTube videos I watched was called Killer Bites. And I thought she did a really good job with it. So just wanted to give her a little shout out.
Killer Bites, fun.
Bites.
Sorry, you said that was a show or
was
a
YouTube
podcast
series? Yeah, okay. YouTube show. And I thought she did a really good job. So Jane Marie Prichard was born in Tacoma Park, Maryland in 1958 and was a very outdoorsy person from childhood. She grew up on a 38-acre farm and developed a great love for nature and animals. Apparently during dinner time, she would like come in and give presentations on like the different plants she had found out in the yard. Like just very
so
sweet. Fun. Yeah. So had a green thumb, loved planting things, was constantly working in the garden, even as a little kid, just loved being outside. And she had 3 siblings, 2 older brothers named Greg and Keith, and a younger sister named Beth. And she was close with all 3 of her siblings, but she had a special bond with Keith, who was 3 years older than her.
Okay.
One of her brothers described Jane as adventurous and independent. She once had driven from Maryland across the country by herself to California when she finished her undergrad degree just to like explore and see what was out there and what she might want to do next. And for that time period, like in the 60s, 70s, like for a young girl to be driving cross country by herself is pretty badass, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And so she was just a very adventurous person. She was also a very good student. She was valedictorian in high school. She graduated from her bachelor's with honors. And she graduated from her bachelor's in 1980 and started working on a graduate degree in botany at the University of Maryland. And according to her academic advisor, she was a calm person who loved being in nature. And at the time, she was studying at the College Park campus of University of Maryland and living in a suburb of Washington, D.C. She also worked at a place called Brookside Gardens, which is a botanical garden in Montgomery County, Maryland. And this was news to me because I had never heard of this before, but her research specifically focused on a native edible plant called hog peanut.
Huh. I've never heard of that. Hog peanut, edible plant. I wonder what it tastes like. Peanut?
Maybe that's why it's called that. Hog? I don't know.
Bacon and peanut
both?
sounds pretty good.
Sounds pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it looks just like a leaf to me, so I don't know how. I don't know. Oh wait, listen. Right. This is the first here. What does hog peanut taste like? They are sweet and delicious raw with a taste that is more like shelled garden beans than peanuts.
Shelled garden beans.
So maybe like a snap pea?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Is what I'm picturing.
Fine with that.
You like a snap pea.
I love a snap pea.
Eva just found that video of us singing Veggie Tales and eating snap peas in New Orleans. So I have proof.
I love a good snap pea. That's probably one of my favorites of the greens.
Yeah, I wonder what if they sell hog peanut at Ralph's. We'll find out.
I feel like that's a Trader Joe's move right there.
It's definitely like a world market only. Yeah. So she was studying this hog peanut, and she often collected data in Blackbird State Forest, which is a forest in Delaware, which was about 2 hours from her home. So at this point, Jane was finishing up the data collection necessary for her thesis, and she was hoping to finish her degree in the next few months. Her research was described as top-notch. She had even been asked to prepare it for publication in a scientific journal.
Hey!
I know. She was really kicking ass. And she also worked as a teaching assistant and was beloved by the undergrad students that she taught as part of their courses, which was really sweet. As a former TA, I was certainly not beloved by my freshman writing class, but
I always forget you were a TA.
It was so traumatic.
That was at BU, right?
Not like it, yeah.
What did a curriculum piece look like for you?
We did college writing, so it was it was basically like learning how to write an essay.
And did you go into it thinking it'd be fun?
No, but they paid a lot of my tuition, so I did it
that'll
anyway.
do it. That'll do it.
Yeah, it was a good experience.
Sure.
It taught me that I don't want to be a teacher. So there you go.
All right.
I had to do
fair
office
enough.
hours, and a bunch of students cried, and I got emails from parents.
They cried because of you? Because
they just cried because school is hard, and they're freshmen in college and overwhelmed. And I was like, I'm not equipped for this. I'm about to cry too. I'm not much older than you.
I'm 2 years older than you. We're both crying. We both go to this school.
I'm gonna call my mom too right after this. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, but they always called me Professor Schieffer, and I was like, please don't call me that. Please don't call me that.
Please call me Professor Schieffer, as I'm about to walk into my own class of where a professor can hear me get called professor.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm not equipped to be. I'm not bold enough to pretend like I'm supposed to be here.
You have to be one of the cool. You got to be called Christine. You gotta let them call you Christine.
I tried. I really did, and they were like, Professor, and I was like, please. Actually, I had a student DM me maybe last year on Twitter, and be like, hey, I was one of your students, and I listen to your podcast now. I was like, what?
It's that person's about to get an earful about how you trippy. Should have just been called Christine the whole time.
I was so traumatized. Okay, anyway, she had students who loved her. And it seemed all around that she was a pretty studious and kind, friendly person, very impressive to her professors and her classmates. And of course, this is where things go wrong. So on September 19th of 1986, Jane at this point is 28 years old, and she stays the night at a friend's house in Lewes, Delaware. She packed all of her research equipment with her, and the next morning she left early to drive about an hour to Blackbird State Forest, where she was going to do some collection for her thesis. And around 7 a.m. on September 20th, she parked her white and blue Chevrolet Blazer on the side of an access road near Blackbird State Forest Road to set up her equipment. So she had tools that stretched from the back of her truck to about 30 yards into the woods besides the road.
Wow. Okay.
And she was recording the data minute by minute in her scientific journal. And around 10 a.m., the entries in her scientific journal abruptly stopped.
Oh, shit. Okay.
5:30 p.m. that same day, a New Jersey couple on a fall camping trip set out on a hike through the state forest. And they were having a wonderful, peaceful fall autumnal day until they discovered the body of a young woman about 20 feet from her equipment near a trail lying in the forest underbrush.
Interesting. And sorry, you might have just said this, but how far away was that from the actual, like, where she parked her car and had the equipment? It was
about
right there?
30 feet, yeah.
30 feet, okay. That's what I thought you said. So no one, well, I don't know how it's going to go, but my first thought is, okay, well, she wasn't kidnapped if she's...
Right, she's still found right there.
Unless she was kidnapped, something happened, and then they brought her back. But right. I don't know how this is going to go. Okay.
Yeah. So her body was about 20 feet from her equipment, which was like 30 feet from the car. So the couple scrambled to get to a phone. This is pre-cell phone era, obviously, and they called the police, who leapt into action. Jane was partially clothed when the hikers found her, and investigators determined that she had been killed by shotgun wounds to her back. And she had been killed essentially by bleeding to death from her left shoulder and neck.
Okay, so it was certainly a person was there and killed her.
And shot her. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So, man, because my first thought was like, oh, maybe there was like some weird, like random wild animal that attacked her.
Right.
Okay, but yeah, a gunshot is pretty...
pretty human in nature,
Pretty human, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So investigators briefly considered actually an accidental shooting, like maybe there was a hunting accident. So that Saturday actually was the hunting season's kickoff weekend, and there were about 25 to 50 hunters in the area at the time of Jane's death. But the fact that she had like multiple wounds and they were fatal, and she was partially undressed, like didn't strike as like an accident, you know?
I mean, I'm still already leaning into someone took her somewhere else and then brought her back, or was there and ran off. And
really? Interesting. Yeah. Why took her somewhere?
I don't know why I took her somewhere. In my mind, it would have to be a more secluded area, but I guess it's by an access road and nobody is, people are driving really fast, so maybe no one would have noticed. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she was killed right there, based on what they could gather. So they decided this had to be killing with intent rather than an accidental death. They asked anyone who'd seen Jane or her vehicle on Saturday to reach out with any information they had. And about 2 days after her death, a 27-year-old squirrel hunter named Michael P. Lloyd contacted police with a tip. He said he had seen Jane working in the forest the morning she died, and he noted that there was another hunter nearby whom he described to police sketch artists. And in a later interview, he said he felt it was his civic duty to contact police and let them know what he had seen.
Okay.
So investigators closed off the crime scene. They scoured the ground for any evidence. They used metal detectors. They collected soil samples. They sent potential evidence to the FBI in D.C. to review. And basically all they found was a single hair at the scene, which did not belong to Jane. So this was a big deal because at this point, DNA was like a new tool being used by investigators, and it was like brand new. So there was only one lab in the entire country that processed DNA evidence.
Okay.
And it was out in California. But so they had this random hair, and besides that, they really didn't have any evidence whatsoever. There weren't even footprints to see like, oh, where did this person escape, or what kind of shoes were they wearing, what shoe size. They just couldn't find anything. In the meantime, police interviewed 300 people about the case with no luck whatsoever. And Blackbird State Forest encompassed 7,000 acres, so it was pretty impossible to know who might have been lurking in the forest and just hadn't been seen by anybody that morning. However, now they're starting to suspect maybe Michael, the squirrel hunter who called in the tip, had something to do with the crime and was like inserting himself and, trying to push the investigation in a certain direction. He worked as a janitor at a pharmaceutical company, and he had described Jane's clothes and equipment in detail to the police. So now they're thinking, well, maybe he knows about what she was wearing and he knows about her equipment. Maybe he had more interaction than we thought. Then again, maybe he was just observant. I don't know. So police then took issue with some inconsistencies in the hunter's story. So they called Michael every single day for a week to question him.
Whoa.
And he started to feel like, okay, this is too much. Like, you're harassing me at this point.
Sure.
And police told him, oh, don't worry, you're not a suspect. But days later,
okay,
guess what? He's arrested. Because
what are you calling to take me to dinner? Like, why do you keep calling?
What do you want? Exactly.
Like, why am I, if I'm not a suspect, leave me the fuck alone.
Then leave me alone. Exactly. So they say, you're not a suspect, don't worry. And then a few days later, they go ahead and arrest him. And this is about a month after Jane's death. And we'll get into it. But basically, he later says, like, I was just trying to do the right thing and tell you what I saw. And now I'm suddenly like getting arrested for this crime that I did not do.
Yep.
So they arrest him, charge him with first-degree murder and possession of a deadly weapon during commission of a felony. And at the time, newspapers claimed that investigators had solid evidence against Michael, but really this was all a hunch. They did not really have any solid evidence. They said he seemed somewhat emotionless when he spoke to them about Jane, but like he didn't know her. He didn't find her body. Like it didn't make sense. Like there's no reason why he should be like super emotional about this. He didn't even know this girl. So it was just odd. They said he seemed too emotionless, and that's why we think he's guilty. And he hadn't even been the one to find the body. So it doesn't...
Like, no reason to need to be emotional.
To feel like that would be part of your story. It doesn't make any sense. So the evidence that the newspaper mentioned, all it was that single random hair they found at the scene. And they determined that this hair was a pubic hair.
Okay.
So a detective
And you said her dress was like kind of torn and everything, right?
So she was partially undressed when they found her.
Okay.
And so they took this hair and a detective flew to California to personally deliver it to a lab for testing, convinced this was this Michael guy's hair, saying like, well, this will nail him. We know it's him. It did not match. So it was not Michael's hair.
Okay. Well, then what now?
They had to release him. They said, you know what? We can't hold you on a hunch that you're not emotional enough, so we have to release you. And eventually all charges against him were dropped, but he had spent 10 months in prison over this. Basically over being wrong place, wrong time, and
trying to do the right thing.
Trying to help. Yeah, trying to help. So in August of 1987, they dropped all the charges against him. But again, he had spent 10 months in prison, so it must have been probably pretty traumatic. And on top of that, during his time in prison, Michael had lost his job, his apartment, like a huge portion of just important things in his life. The newspapers had printed his photo and had said, like, there's evidence that he did this. And
I would have fled town after I got out of jail. I would have been like,
Your reputation is ruined.
Even if people just hear something, like, it's over. Like, it's
too late. They printed this. And so he lost his job. He lost his home. It just was an incredibly traumatic experience for him.
Yeah.
He also said that the conditions in prison were abysmal. And he said his time in prison was the most degrading and humiliating experience of his life. Which is just, apparently there were even several days where there was no running water in the prison, and like just inhumane,
And
inhumane.
This was in the 60s or 70s, right? The 70s?
The 80s.
The 80s? That's because that feels like a jail that I would talk about from like the Civil War
St.
or
Augustine or something,
yeah.
Florida. Yeah. Nope, it was like the late 80s. So it was a couple years before we were born, actually.
Jeez.
So that's pretty horrific. He said he learned a valuable lesson, though, from his nightmare, which was that he would never help the police again. So there you
honestly,
go.
You know what? I can't blame him.
Can't blame him for a second, and hope they heard that and, internalized it a little bit, because yikes. So in an interview with the Washington Post, he said, "I would never make that mistake again. My advice is don't get involved." So, boy, oh boy, he just tried to do the right thing. So investigators at this point were completely out of options. They had no leads. They had no motive. And after seeing what happened to Michael, it was no surprise that nobody else was calling in with tips. So they kind of ran out of their leads there.
Yeah. Well, they did that to themselves. So
yeah. Jane's family was very, very devastated to be back at square one, but, at least the DNA evidence got an innocent man out of jail, so okay.
Yeah.
And then in the following months, Jane Prichard's death unfortunately fell to the wayside because other cases came in, and eventually Jane's case just was cold for decades. So it wasn't until October of 2014 that the Newcastle County Police launched a cold case homicide unit. And the purpose of the squad was to solidify police vigilance in identifying and arresting those who commit murder in Newcastle County, regardless of when the crime occurred.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're trying to even reach all the way back to like the 70s, and they started looking into as many as 50 unsolved homicides. The unit consisted of one full-time detective and a support team, and these cases stretched all the way back to the 70s. So Jane's case was actually the first to be reopened because the cold case unit hoped modern DNA tools might help create new leads. And the team reopened evidence collected at the scene in 1986, which they felt may produce new DNA evidence that police couldn't access at the time.
Okay.
So when the unit contacted Jane's brother Keith, he said, "I thought it was just astounding. I was flabbergasted." Keith said Jane's death had left him scarred, and hearing about it again after so many years made him feel like it had all basically come rushing back and just happened yesterday. And so it's just like reopening a wound.
Right.
He was worried the new investigation might upset his elderly mother or maybe even get her hopes up unnecessarily that they would get answers.
Yeah.
So it must just be a very hard thing to revisit after so many years of trying to put that behind you,
Yeah. That's, I can't imagine.
So it seems Keith remains active in the search for answers, and it's unclear whether anything has happened. Essentially, the cold case unit may have dropped the case again because we haven't really heard anything. In 2019, a YouTube investigator uploaded a video to his channel of a live stream where he reviewed Jane's case and shared his thoughts. And a year ago, in 2021, a commenter by the name of Keith Prichard, so presumably if the name is true, that's her brother, commented twice, once to say, "My sister would have tried to fight for her survival," and then again to say, "I'm Jane's brother, Keith Prichard. They brought me in on this first cold case. It went nowhere after being told there was new evidence and they were close. What happened?" So even he doesn't know, it's not like, oh, the family knows anything we don't. It's just like they've just been left in a lurch again because...
So it's just like reopening a wound just to be a dead end.
Just to be a dead end. And the fact that they even told, if this is really him, the fact that they even told him they had new evidence and that they were close to finding answers and then just never reached out again is like, that's pretty cold,
Yeah.
They're hoping for answers or something.
To at least say, please don't expect anything.
Yeah, to get their hopes up like that.
Yeah.
Just unnecessarily cruel.
Boy.
So for what it's worth, Jane's family still hopes that one day the case could be solved and someone might come forward with new information. And if anyone out there does have information, I know we said, stay out of it, but I'm just going to go out there on a limb and say, don't stay out of it. If you do have any information or tips on a cold case, you know what? I say go for it.
I still stand by see something, say something, but also maybe if you can get a lawyer just in case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always be protect yourself for sure.
Be aware that nobody is on your side while you're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah. Be aware that there's always risk associated, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you do have a tip or you have any information, you can send those to the Newcastle County Police Department through their website. Via their website. And so that is the case of Jane Marie Prichard, and very, very just so in cold blood right there, side of the road, no answers. Like somebody just...
I think that's why my first thought was she had to have been taken somewhere first, which makes no sense because why would you think... But my first thought felt like that because it was well, how could it be done in such blind, broad daylight? And and people just didn't see. Like, it could have happened right there.
I mean, it must have just been a crime of opportunity. Somebody is out there with a hunting or with a gun or whatever and sees her.
Maybe with all of her equipment, they thought maybe she had something expensive, and then, I mean, who knows?
I mean, the fact that she was partially undressed also is like a big clue, you know?
Yeah, it lets us know probably something.
Their intentions.
Least. Yeah.
Anyway, just very fucking sad. So happy Halloween.
Oh,
be careful out there, folks.
Wow. Well, hopefully there's one day when the new oh, well, thank you.
I forgot to put my Mothman through that whole story.
Maybe one day when we have a revolutionary thing like finding that we can track DNA. Maybe there's something out there that's gonna.
I hope so.
Shed some light. So
man, there's so many cases. I wish I could help. You know.
Are you intentionally sitting so that Mothman is perched on you? Because it's working.
You know, I'm not. I'm just lounging on the fainting couch, but it really does look like he's just kind of showing off his calf muscles on my shoulder.
He's definitely squatting right next to you. Are you still Team Mothman, by the way? I feel like that's a mainstay for you, but I don't know if you actually have like a secret favorite cryptid.
Just love Mothman. Just a Mothman till I die, you know?
It's just a Mothman. What do you think Mothman's audience would be called? The Mothbabes? Mothbabes?
The Mothbabes. Well, Leona has that onesie that says Moth Baby on it that you got her, which is so effing cute.
I know. The only one, I really got to get it for her before she's potty trained, but the El Pupacabra, that's...
Oh, no.
That one really got me good. That was the one I was most excited to get her, and they didn't have it in her size. I was so upset.
Oh,
no. Well, thank you for that. Are you going to go do anything particularly Halloween-y? I know we've talked about that before, but plans changed. Didn't know if you had anything coming up.
Not really. You know, just do our dumb little show on stage.
Well, I know for those of you wondering, we are celebrating our 300th next episode.
I can't believe it.
We have quite a show for you on the 300th. So
it's going to be special.
I almost feel bad. I feel like our Halloween episode was like almost like put on the back burner because we were so excited about the 300th.
I know. And like we've said this before, but they almost were the same episode. Like they were almost
I know. It would have really... Know that we're upset about it too. It would have been perfect.
So perfect.
But we're having our show tonight in Atlanta, and then in a couple days we've got New Orleans, and then we've only got like a handful left of shows. And then it really hit me for the first time where like I got really sad, like that. I know. It's like that's it for Here for the Booze.
We spent years with this show now, unintentionally. But
it was an unexpected, as they say, season of life, but now it's been in our lives for so long.
It's in the twilight years now.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I know I'm always like riddled with anxiety, but it's always only like the first 10 minutes, and then after that, I'm having so much fun up there. And there's always, for every show, Christine, there's a moment where like you're not looking at me and the audience isn't looking at me, so I get like a moment to myself and I just like try to take it in. Aww. And I'm just like, wow, one day like this is gonna be
so special,
a memory, and I'm like living in my future memories right now, and it's just so wild. And
it's like on The Office when they like take a picture, like
the glory days, and
picture.
I try to remember that I'm living it right now, and it's just it's so fun. But this show really is so important to us, so when you get to see it later, please
we're so proud of it.
Please enjoy. So and I hope you guys have fun with our 300th episode that comes out next week. You guys are gonna be very excited.
Guys are gonna lose it.
Other than that, we're having a good time over here. So I guess we'll see you next week for 300 episodes. That's crazy.
Can't believe it. And
that's
why
we
drink.